Hey guys, Pastor Greg Locke here. I haven't been going live really at all lately other than our services at Global Vision Bible Church, but I just feel heavy in my spirit to talk about something. I am flabbergasted. I'm floored. Share this video both now and later. This is very important. I am floored by the amount of conditioning that we are receiving, both politically and religiously in the United States of America, to be conditioned to fear. Remember that show, Fear Factor? Well, the factor is full of fear because everywhere we go, people are fearful. And here's the thing that I've got to get off my chest. And I know I'm probably going to lose some followers over this. People aren't going to be happy about this. It's not very often that I say names, as it were, especially in a live. But I got to get something off my chest, okay? Because I've tried to be silent for the last couple of days, but this thing's just stirring in my spirit, and I've got to say something. Because I'm going to be accountable to God, not to Facebook, not to Twitter, not to Instagram, not to anybody else. I'm not accountable to Trump. I'm accountable to Jesus Christ. And so I want to say something. I agree with just about everything that the Reverend Franklin Graham says. I appreciate him. I love his daddy. We have financially supported thousands of dollars to Samaritan's Purse. I've been to the White House with Franklin Graham. I appreciate it. But his stand on this vaccination issue is dangerous. You hear me? It is dangerous. Here he is saying that he is asking pastors to teach and tell their people to take the vaccine because, after all, if Jesus were alive today on the earth, he would. Number one, he is alive on the earth. Number two, no, he would not have. Okay, let's not presume what Jesus would do just because it may be something that your father did because you quoted, and I quote, that he believed in modern medicine. We do too. But I want you to know that Jesus walked right into cemeteries and had to use people's names like Lazarus, or they'd all get up and go home for breakfast, okay? Jesus healed lepers, blind people, cast out devils, demons, all manner of sickness and disease. It says that 3 times amongst the people Jesus cast out. He wasn't walking around in a mask, and he wasn't telling people to take a vaccination, okay? That is dangerous. You do realize that what we are living in days are conditioning. They're conditioning us. People are like, oh, Pastor Greg Locke believes that the vaccine is the mark of the beast. Okay, you can quote me, but don't misquote me. I've never said anything so stupid. I've never said that. I've never believed that. And I've never even said one single thing about that. What I have said is it's conditioning us to the mark of the beast. It is conditioning us to get people so used to fear that they will sell their souls for a piece of bread. And the Bible talks about that. So I love Franklin Graham. Really, I do. Maybe he'll see this video, maybe not, okay? I'm not the man Franklin Graham is. I don't have the ministry and the platform and the pizzazz that he does. But at the end of the day, we have a large platform. We have a massively growing church. And I've got to be faithful to God and the gospel and say, look, I can't tell you what to do, and I can't tell you what not to do. But I can tell you they'll be sipping Frosties in the lake of fire before this pastor gets up before his church and tells them to go out and take a vaccination. I'm not forcing my people into that nonsense. They can choose to do what they want to. Every bucket sits on its own bottom. And I wouldn't even say something if he wasn't such a political, religious, spiritual, polarizing figure. He's a good man, a gospel preaching man, a Jesus loving man. But he is dead wrong, capital D, dead wrong on this issue, saying that Jesus would take the vaccination. Number one, no, he would not. That is presupposing something that God would not do. That's not even biblical. Okay, that's interjecting ourselves into the text in a way that God never expected us to do that. All right, Jesus would not take the vaccine, and he certainly would not tell pastors to get up and propagate that nonsense. We are being conditioned to fear. We are being conditioned to do exactly what Big Brother, what the government tells us. Now, at the end of the day, is it my opinion? Absolutely, it's my opinion. Because if I don't say that, Facebook will kibosh the numbers and squash the numbers and cancel the live feed, and they've threatened to cancel our platform so many times. Look, again, I'll say it. I love Franklin Graham. I appreciate the fact that he's a gospel preacher, but he's dead wrong on this vaccination issue. Okay, I am not going to get up and tell my people that they have to take a vaccination, and the government can't tell me that. CNN showed up and said that I was a rebel rouser and a troublemaker because, I simply said I'm not going to take it. I didn't tell my people what to do and what not to do. I'm not telling you what to do and what not to do. I'm just telling you that Franklin Graham saying that Jesus would take the vaccine is wrong. Why aren't preachers decrying this nonsense? Good grief, ladies and gentlemen. Can you not see the conditioning that we are under in America? I'm telling you, this is absolutely a zombie-like situation where people are mindlessly following whatever the news media tells them, whatever CNN says, whatever Newsmax says, whatever Fox News says. Listen, the only news I'm worried about is the fact that in the last days, perilous, dangerous, wicked times are going to come. I'm telling you, the news I read is the Bible because I'm watching the Bible pop off the page. My grandfather used to say every morning he would get up, drink coffee, read the Bible and the newspaper to figure out what both sides are doing. Well, isn't that the truth? And so look, again, I love Samaritan's Purse, love Franklin Graham. My son adores the Reverend Billy Graham, watches his videos all the time. Gospel preaching machine. I love Franklin Graham. But I'm telling you, he's wrong on this issue because pastors should not get up and tell their church to do any such nonsense. Yeah, I'm fired up about it. I think every preacher in America ought to be fired up about it. I'm so sick of churches being closed. I'm so sick of all this putting a temperature gun to your head. If I come to your church and you got to put a temperature gun to my head, I know the temperature of church. It is Luke stinking warm, ladies and gentlemen. Good grief. When are we going to wake up? When are we going to smell the roses? When are we going to pay attention to a Bible? When are we going to recognize that prophecy is being fulfilled before our very eyes? The great delusion has begun. Okay? 2020 showed us a lot, both good and bad. And people thought, well, we get to 2021, it's going to get better. 2021 is worse. Okay? This thing started with nasal swabs. It's now gone into anal swabs. Are you kidding me? And now double masks and triple masks. And now Franklin Graham telling everybody that pastors should propagate and preach from the pulpit that their people should take the vaccination. Is this America? Is this America? Are you kidding me, ladies and gentlemen? So yeah, I'm a little bit fired up out here walking to my prayer tree, and I'm ready to go home right now and just try to get some coffee and relax. I'm just saying, where are the pastors that will decry this nonsense, that'll stand up and say enough's enough? Now, while I'm at it, let me just say this. You know, I was going to do a whole nother video on this, but I think I'll just go ahead and say it. Since I'm naming names, let me say this. Andy Stanley is one of the biggest cowards in the United States of America. Andy Stanley told the Christian Post that he is ashamed and embarrassed by the Christians that sparred with the government and the pastors that kept their churches open. Well, Andy, I'm ashamed of you. You are certainly not your father. There is no doubt about that. I'm ashamed that you would even say such nonsense. I've got friends that have upwards of $2 million in fines for keeping their churches open. I know pastors that have been handcuffed and drugged to jail, lost their livelihood because they kept their church open. And just because you in North Point decide you got 40,000 people and enough money in the bank to stay closed for the next 20 years, rah, bish, kumbah on you, Andy. But don't try to shame us because we kept our churches open. Jesus said, if you're ashamed before me, before men of me, then I'll be ashamed of you before my Father which is in heaven. Open up the churches, Andy, and everybody else. There is not one reason that any church in America should be closed due to COVID-19. Not one single regulation would make you close your doors. Fear is the reason that people close their doors. And I'm not going to be a sheep, and I'm not following the crowd, and I'm not following this nonsense. So if I got to call out Andy Stanley for being a coward, I'll call out Andy Stanley for being a coward. If I got to call out Franklin Graham for being wrong on this issue, because Franklin certainly know Andy Stanley. At least Franklin Graham preaches the gospel of Jesus Christ. But if I got to call people out, then I will. Because on this platform, I'm going to let people know that I'm going to stand for the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm not going to bend. I'm not going to bow. I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to roll over and play dead and capitulate to a wicked, godless culture. I'm not. At Global Vision Bible Church, we are going to meet. We are going to worship. We are going to sing. We're going to lift our hands and praise the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And we're not going to stop. And we're not going to quit. And we're not going to give in. And we're not going to roll over. And we're not going to be bullied and given a black eye and have identities placed upon us and push us in a corner of silence. We are not compromising by saying nothing. Hence, I'm saying something. And I'm telling you, we better get a gut full of it. Remnant Church, you better rise up. God is thinning out the ranks and raising up an army. You better figure out whose side you're on, and you better figure it out while you still have a chance to.